Good morning, everyone. So it is Thursday morning, and we're going to have a little look around the new cattle shed we built last year. Just going to have a little look around at 12 months on. It was finished the end of November last year, so it's just a little over 12 months since we get cattle into it, and we'll have a look around things we're happy with, things we're not happy with, things we changed, things we wouldn't change, and all that kind of stuff. So let's have a wee look around and see what we think. So we're 12 months in, and yeah, this shed now basically has its second lot of cattle in it. This year it's a little bit different from last year. Last year we had two pens of weanlings here on the left hand side, and on the right hand side then we had a pen of cows here in the top pen, and then the bottom pen was heifers and maybe one or two cows as well. But yeah, it's a little bit different this year. This year now it's all finishing we're using it for, just to see how it worked out, and it is working out fairly well in regards to using it as a finishing shed. It's a slightly different design than our other sheds, in the fact that it has an opening here on one side and the feeding passage in the centre. Our other sheds were all fully enclosed with the feeding passage in the centre, so you had an outer wall on this side as well. So a little bit different design, and I probably like this design of shed. Overall I like it better than the other one because there's a lot more ventilation. The fact that it's open here at the front, and the newer sheds here that were grand spec'd all had this opening. It's about 12 or 14 inches I think at the back. That have that opening on it as well, and it allows for great air circulation in the shed. You know, you never come in here, even with the two doors closed, that the shed is warm or stuffy, which is great. That's the joys of having bulls there than jumping around on top of each other. But yeah, that's basically that. Now the feeding boxes here, we made them slightly smaller than the other shed because the feeding passage is a couple of foot narrow, so we made them about 6 inches narrower than on the feeding boxes, and they don't lie in an angle. The other shed they lay out at a bit of an angle. There was probably an extra 4 inches at the top, just with the lay of the planks. You do miss that for putting in that extra bit of volume of stuff. Now it's not a problem for the heifers. The heifers don't really eat as much as the bulls do, but if you had those bulls over here, it might be just a struggle for it to do the 24 hours because it is a little bit on the smaller side now. But with heifers and weanlings it's no issue at all. Yeah, so basically the same. This side is the same size. The outer feeding box is a good job. The downside of it is, the likes of last night, we had a lot of wet weather, a lot of wind. There was a storm came in, and you can see it blew the rain over here. Now it didn't contaminate the feed, in all fairness, but it does wet this area here in front of the feeding box. So that's the downside of it. But look, it's a small enough price to pay. It's just a matter of keep it swept and maybe hose it down every now and again. What other things is there with the shed that's a little different, that or likes or dislikes? We had a little bit of an issue with the floor. Our concrete guy put in the floors, and he left a little bit of a fall in the floor which wasn't right, which meant that he had to come back and do a little bit of a job here on this bottom lot. Now it's still not right. I don't know if you can see it on the GoPro, but there's a little bit of a dip here in the floor, and look, it was a temporary fix for now, but I wouldn't rule out taking out these two bays here and putting it in. If you look at the planks, there is a dip in the floor. The planks are straight, but whereas up here the planks are touching the ground, and over here there's a gap, or a little gap between the plank and the floor. So what the tendency was, on a really wet windy day, if the rain was blowing towards the door of the shed, it was hitting the door, running down and blowing in, and you could have water then would flow in here. Look, it only happened a couple of times, but it'd flow in, lie in a big puddle here in the centre passage, and then it could contaminate the feed on both sides, and you had a lot of work then washing it out and cleaning out any contaminated feed. And look, it's just something that shouldn't be happening. So we'll see what happens. He did come back and he put this final bay of concrete in, riz it up slightly, and to a point it has worked. But the problem is there's like a speed bump here now and you're driving down through it. It's hardly noticeable here on camera, but when you're driving through it in the track you can feel that little rise up. It's only a couple of inches, but it's annoying. It's annoying for a new shed to have that kind of an issue. Like, it should have been a case of the flow started at a point here at the center point of the passage and had a gradual fall the whole way right back down to the door. So that's the way. Look, I'm not a concrete guy, but that's how I would have imagined it should have been done. But anyway, so I'd imagine at some point in the future we will do a little bit of a job on that and get that sorted. That's the biggest, that's really the only issue that we had with the whole shed, was that. Like, the rest of the shed was 100%, but look, it's minor enough. It only happened a couple of times where the water came in, but it still shouldn't be happening. What else? What else is there that we can talk about? Oh, the drinkers. Yeah, a lot of people asking me about the drinkers. Well, actually, when we tip the drinkers out, they haven't been tipped out now in about a week, so we'll go in and tip the drinkers out, and we'll have a little look at those and I'll talk through those. So we'll go in on the side here next with the heifers, not the stove, the bulls, because it doesn't take that much to kick the bulls off. Where the heifers are a little bit easier to keep peacified. That's the girls, come on up a wee bit. Now, so yeah, these are the drinkers we've got, tip out drinkers. They swivel around for tipping out. Good drinker. The biggest issue we have is that they do dung into it a little bit. The rump rail probably just doesn't come out far enough. The rump rail probably should come out about another 3 or 4 inches. And I think I've seen in other sheds, especially I've seen them in the States quite a bit, where they'd put in just like a little base of concrete round them, stop cattle backing up on the base. So the base maybe would come out about a foot past the drinker, and what happens is it stops cattle from, or whatever the animal, from backing up and dunging into the drinker. Now, look at whether it'll work or not is another thing. I'd like to get an exact measurement of how far to keep the concrete out from the drinker for it to be 100% success, because if you put it too far, then that could cause issues then with the cattle actually drinking. So but it is something that we would definitely, we are considering doing it, is putting the base around the drinker to help to stop the dunging. But the drinker, as I've shown them before, they do work relatively well. They're easy enough to tip up. The little handle here, just pop it up, and if the case then I just tip it out. You can see there's a little bit of dung in there, and a build up then of green. So you usually have to just give the drinker a little bit of a rub with your hand. A little slime builds up on it, and then just tip it out a couple more times. They're coming in and eating with mouthfuls of meal. But yeah, you just have to clear them out a couple of times like that there, let the drinker fill up a little bit, and just keep tipping it out, just to get every bit of it out of it. But about once a week is usually sufficient. Once the couple of cattle don't come and dung in it and soil the water, it's pretty much the same as any other drinker. But overall I like them. Dad probably isn't just as much of a fan of them as I am, but compared to the other smaller bowl drinkers or the enclosed drinkers, there's great volume of water in them. A couple of cattle can drink at the one time, so yeah, I think they're a fairly good job. Yeah, that's really it on the drinker. The other thing that probably would consider doing in the future was to make the pens a little bit smaller. Maybe divide the pens out, put another dividing gate in each pen, and just have the cattle in smaller bounds. The pens are fairly big. They're about 30 foot by about 16 foot, so they are a decent enough size pen. Yeah, the smaller pens would just, there'd be a bit less issues with cattle, not so much the heifers, with the bulls. Cattle jumping on each other and if you have pens of bulls, to try and get them mixed can be a bit of an issue. So smaller pens would be a bonus as well. So that's really all there is on the pens. On the lighting front, we used these LED lights. They're similar in appearance to the old fluorescent tube lights, but they're LED. We put 4 of them along here. Good light out of them. They've been very good. They've worked well. Been no issues. None of them have stopped working or anything like that. Touch wood. That continues. And then we put another 4 of them here, which shines enough light on this side, this side of the shed. But what we noticed was, just shut this door, go up to the other side. What I noticed was then on this outer part of the shed, can be lacking a little bit of light just out here, especially if you're clearing up or sweeping up out here at night time. You're just lacking that wee bit of light. So I probably like to put, even only put another couple in, maybe put one here and then another one then at the same end, just to give a wee bit extra light here. Even maybe put 3 lights in. So that's the only change on the lighting end of it. These little half doors have been invaluable, so they have, because if you hadn't got these on, you'd have a lot of wind blowing in here, rain blowing in and contaminating the feed. So on a windy night, it's going to rain, we slide over this door depending on which side the wind's coming from, and it works well. It was a simple enough little idea we had at the time, just to stick it on, and yeah, it works well. And there's one up the top as well. So that's really about it, I think. Like, overall we are very happy with how the shed has turned out. It's finished to a very high quality and standard, and yeah, we'd be happy with it. The only issue that we've had is the floor, and that issue with it, like if it rained, and if it would happen to rain heavy and was windy at the same time, you could get that water running into the passageway. And like, really, if the levels had to be right from the word go on the floor, that shouldn't have happened. It was easily avoided if the levels were right. It should have been sorted when the work was being done. That was one thing. And then the other thing then is around the drinkers, which is also easily enough rectified with either a slightly larger rump rail, or we could just stick in the small concrete base around it. But just, if anybody has ever put in the concrete base around a drinker like that, to stop cattle from backing up onto it, just leave me a message somewhere, let me know how it's worked out for you, what distance you kept it out from the actual drinker itself. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to know just how it worked out for other people, just to see if it is a solution, or maybe it's not a solution, or it doesn't work. So excuse me. But yeah, that's really about it. As always, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the sub button, leave me a message down below, and if you have any questions, around, just throw me a message in the comment box, and yeah, like the video as well. So the website is up and running, as I mentioned before. We're selling some of the merch on there, a few bits and pieces on there. I'm going to add a few more bits maybe in the new year as well, and just, yeah, to be available there if anyone wanted to buy anything. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.